Good morning, everyone. This is Depelsha Magruder. I'm in Brooklyn, New York, and I have two sons who are 5, and my oldest son will be 9 tomorrow. So we're prepping for the birthday party. I just want to welcome you all to the call. It's so great to hear everyone's voices from all over the country and with sons of all ages. And we just want to get started with an inspirational quote by Nashiva Starr.
Good morning, everyone. I'm definitely looking forward to this call from Officer NakiaJones. If you've seen or heard her riveting speech, you will agree with me that she definitely exemplifies courage. So today's quote is about courage. It says, "With courage you will dare to take risk, have the strength to be compassionate, and the wisdom to be humble. Courage is the foundation of integrity," by Mark Twain. Enjoy the call, ladies.
Thank you so much, Nashiva Starr. Now I will just give a brief overview of our organizational purpose and mission. For the new callers, sounds like we have a number of new callers on the phone, so welcome especially to you all. It also sounds like we have some people who've returned after a while, so welcome back to you all as well, and of course to the faithful and any guests we may have as well, because this call is open to the public. Thank you so much for joining us. So our mission and purpose, first of all, we have two organizations, a 501c3 and a 501c4. The 501c3 is Moms of Black Boys United, and that's really to be a resource for moms and to provide information and support for moms of black sons, and also to promote positive images of black males. Our 501c4 is the advocacy organization, Mob United for Social Change, and that organization's mission is to influence policy that impacts how black boys and men are treated and perceived by law enforcement, those in authority, and in society as a whole. So the next page you'll see we have a 5-point approach that combines the work of both organizations. So number one is to influence policy. That's the primary work of Mob United for Social Change, our advocacy efforts, pushing for legislation and policy change. So pushing the system to change as a whole is how we describe that. Number two is to change perception, which is critically important because a big part of the reason we keep seeing these things happen over and over again is because of the negative perception of black males. So we want to do all we can to counter that perception with positive images of our sons and true images of who they really are and the lives that they deserve to have, and to be able to walk freely and navigate the world like anyone else. Number three is to demonstrate our power, and that is in all ways, particularly politically at the ballot box and economically at the cash register, supporting those who support our cause and not supporting those who don't, and making sure that they're held accountable for it. Number four is to partner strategically with like-minded individuals and organizations who are working toward the same goals, and to figure out how to partner on solutions with a broad coalition of people, including law enforcement agencies. And number five is to promote self-care. And I always say this is critically important because all of the stuff on the left is our work. We're advocating, we're moms, we're busy, but we have to always remember that if we're going to be able to do all of that, we have to take care of ourselves. And I always like to say have fuel for the fight, because this is a long-term effort. This is not about a day or a rally or a march. This is about a long-term sustained effort to continually advocate for our sons. So to do that, we have to make sure we are healthy and our families are healthy in all ways. So that's a little bit about who we are. And up next, we will go into committee updates. I believe up first is policy and advocacy. So Delicia.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Apologies for the noise in the background. Got my both my sons with me. Just wanted to give a quick readout on our policy and advocacy work to date. Right now, we are focused on congressional outreach and engagement. So we have asked members to reach out to their congressional representatives and set up meetings and or attend a town hall meeting. So what you see on the slide is what we've done to date. So we've asked folks to focus on the August recess, where congressional representatives are back in their districts and states, and to reach out to them and meet during the August recess period. So this week we kicked off with some of those meetings, and we're going to give a quick recap. Coming up in the next week, as you can see, we have meetings set up with Representative Gwen Moore, Senator Kamala Harris's staff, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, and we're continuing to reach out and set up additional meetings. We'll be meeting hopefully with Representative Frederica Wilson and Sheila Jackson-Lee. But this week we kicked it off with a couple of meetings, so just want to give a brief recap of those meetings. We met at the beginning of the week with Representative Cedric Richmond, then at the end of the week with Representative Elijah Cummings, and in the middle of the week, one of our members also went to a town hall meeting and was able to connect with Senator Gillibrand. So if you are interested, please reach out to policy@mobunited.org. You can attend a town hall meeting. That's a way to get engaged. But if you have a relationship or want to do some advocacy on behalf of your sons, reach out to policy@mobunited.org and we will get you set up. We will prep you. We will give you an agenda and some supporting materials that you can take along with you. So just to give a brief readout of what occurred during this week's meeting, I'm going to ask Frankie Robertson to share a bit about her meeting with Cedric Richmond, and then I'll give a brief recap of my meeting with Elijah Cummings.
Thank you, Delicia. Good morning, Mob. So on Monday, I attended a meeting with Congressman Cedric Richmond. He is chairman of the Congressional Black Caucus. Olivette Green Temple and I attended the meeting, and we were very excited to meet with him. Prior to the meeting, we were told by his staff that he was really, really looking forward to meeting with us and learning more about Mob United for Social Change. So that was really exciting and quite frankly, very flattering, because they stressed that time and time again when I would check in about the call. One of the really neat things about the meeting, just to really show you how things come about, Olivette Green Temple and I met for the first time at the meeting. We coordinated in advance, but that just goes to show the passion and dedication that so many mobs have when it comes to advocating for our sons. We're willing to come together as people who have not yet connected in, face-to-face but virtually, to be able to affect change by meeting with our policymakers. So during the meeting with Congressman Richmond, he was very engaged. We had an opportunity to let him know some of the things that we are doing as an organization. We explained what Mob United for Social Change is and what Mob United is as nonprofit organizations, and we talked to him about some of the previous legislation that we supported and talked to him about upcoming opportunities to support him and members of the Congressional Black Caucus. We also talked about just some of the ways that we can affect change at a greater level. He shared a lot of great ideas that we were already talking about as an organization. So to have him so deeply engaged in the conversation was really a great feeling. We feel as though we left the meeting having established a great partnership with him and his local district staff in New Orleans. And we also spoke with him about opening the door to the additional Congressional Black Caucus members who we have not had an opportunity to meet with, and he agreed. So basically what he is going to do is reach out, if he hasn't done so already, that is, to members of the CBC, introducing them in general to what Mob United for Social Change is, letting them know that they will receive contact from members in their particular district if they haven't already, and encouraging them to accept meetings with us. So we were really, really excited about that. So we do feel as though we have established a great partnership with him. And then we were also talking with him about the annual legislative conference that's hosted by the CBC that takes place at the end of September. He agreed to work with fellow CBC members to try to secure panel participation for DePelsha and Mob United. So we're hoping that that's something that does actually pan out at the end of the day. So that would be a fantastic opportunity. So that's pretty much the essence of what happened at the meeting, and I'm really looking forward to working with those who email policy@mobunited.org to also schedule meetings with their representatives in their respective districts. Thank you.
Thank you, Frankie. And also just briefly, I met with Elijah Cummings, Representative Elijah Cummings, and his staff in Baltimore this week. Another great meeting. Some highlights coming out of that. One thing the congressman said was he was really impressed about the fact that we've done so much in just a year. I described our different advocacy actions, our agenda, and also our meetups that we've been having in this last month. And also, apologize, got a 2-month-old with me. Also mentioned just how much we have planned going forward and that we're going to go to the CBC. So in particular, he talked about just how much power he thought the group would have, sharing a unique perspective of mothers, and he really congratulated us on what we have achieved to date. He also had some other ideas about how he could be supportive. So we'll be continuing to work with him and his staff after the fact. But again, a good meeting, and if this is something that sounds of interest, please do email policy@mobunited.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Delicia. So as you can see, we are real moms with real kids. We don't put them aside during our work. It's ongoing and all at the same time. So as you can see, we have a lot going on in terms of congressional outreach right now. One, just want to clarify, Representative Cedric Richmond is in Louisiana, not D.C., and Frankie met with him there. Also, we didn't talk about August 8th. New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, Tammy Greer-Brown went to a town hall in Staten Island where Senator Gillibrand was, and what came out of that was that one, she got to meet her personally and tell her about Mob United for Social Change, and we now have a personal meeting with her office this Friday coming up on the 18th. So we're trying to get the word out about who we are, our mission, so that as legislation is being developed, our interests are top of mind. And we want to do that nationwide, as Delicia said, and encourage you to get involved. We'll give you the talking points. We'll give you everything you need if you want to schedule a meeting with your local representative. So up next, we have an update from chapter development. Lisa? Lisa, please, star 6. I just want to note while we're waiting on Lisa that I'm actually heading to the first event today, which is the Bronx Woke Mom Meetup. So I'll still be on the call, but after a few minutes I have to get on the road and be in transit, and I'll be a little quieter for the rest of the call. So Lisa?
Good morning. Hi.
Good morning.
This is Lisa. We've had, so far, all across the country since the month of July, we've had 13 meetups that have occurred in areas such as Baton Rouge, Philadelphia, Boston, San Diego, Atlanta, Roswell, New Jersey, Houston, Texas, Dallas, Texas. So basically Staten Island, New York, all over New York we've had meetups. And as Defelsha just stated, there's a meetup taking place today in the Bronx at 12 p.m. So if you're in the area of New York, please do attend. And the address is at our website, but it's at Faith at Work Christian Church, Co-op City. Also this month, in the month of August, we still have 5 more meetups that are scheduled. Those meetups are in Chicago, Charlotte, San Antonio, Baton Rouge. So if you're in any of those areas and you would like to attend, please go out to our website and RSVP a spot. We would greatly appreciate it. If we have any meetups that you missed or that you're interested in hosting in your area, still go out to our website, mobunited.org, and we'll take action. And there's a form you can fill out to register for an event. But if you have any questions or you need to reach out to me or want to speak to me a little bit more about this, please reach out to me at chapters@mobunited.org, and I'll be happy to assist.
Thank you, Lisa, and thanks to everyone who's already hosted meetings or attended meetings. We've had some really good discussions in various cities and a lot of bonding is happening. A lot of issues are bubbling up that we want to address as an organization. So if you haven't attended one or you'd like to host one, it's not too late. We wanted to have most of them this summer, but we're going to keep this going for a few more months. So please sign up to host a meeting. Up next, we have an update from membership. Chris? Chris Baldwin, please, star 6.
Good morning. This is Chris Baldwin. Thank you, ladies, for joining us again for another Mob United Saturday National Call. Membership. I know many of you have been with us from the beginning, or maybe you're new, but it's important that you understand why joining Mob United for Social Change is important. There are several tragedies that we're facing that we have to break the chain in order to secure a better tomorrow for our boys. Did you know that Black youth are 62% of the youth persecuted in the adult criminal system and are 9 times more likely than white youth to receive an adult prison sentence? Our youth are prosecuted at a tremendous higher rate, and this is a fact that we got from the Campaign for Youth Justice. Did you know that 69% of victims of police brutality in the United States who are Black were suspects of nonviolent crimes or unarmed? Did you know that between 2005 and 2017, 33 of the 49 people killed by indicted cops were Black, but only 5 officers were convicted, making this homicide conviction rate for Black victims 12%. And that's another fact that we received from the root. So as you can see, joining Mob United for Social Change is imperative. We have to change the trajectory of future for our boys. It is our moral obligation as moms not just to provide for our sons, but also ensure a platform that is designed to protect them. And by joining Mob United for Social Change and becoming a member at mobunited.org/join, you can help us in our mission. Our mission is a singular focused mission that's only about protecting our boys. I know you may be part of other organizations and you may participate as members, but with this organization, you would be making a pledge in stopping all these injustices. So I'm asking you to take a stand for what you believe in. Moms across the country, as you heard from Chapter Development, are coming together to stand up, to advocate and influence change, rather going to sit down and meet with their legislators, as you heard from Frankie and Delicia and Policy, or moms are organizing in local cities across the country. Even today, moms in New York and Bronx are saying, no more, not on their watch. By helping us to become a member, by banding together, we can build a better tomorrow for our sons. By your membership and your pledge of commitment, your membership dues will help fund organizing platforms to continue to help moms mobilize across the nation. It can assist us in providing advocacy, training, and activities. And also, your membership dues will help us to build a public forum and conference. It's time for moms to hold a national town hall meeting. It's time for moms to demand that legislators not just go when they're trying to get reelected in this upcoming midterm election, that they come and they sit and they have the conversation and they share the legislative platform with Mob United. And also, your membership will allow us to put on conferences to talk about missions and policies and procedures by law enforcement and legislators, as well as school administrators and how they're impacting our boys. And lastly, your membership dues will help us fund rapid response efforts. Many of you have followed us, have seen us deploy our moms from Tulsa, Oklahoma to Dallas, Texas, as well as to Pasadena, where we supported a mom in terms of her effort to laying her 15-year-old son to rest by supporting the financial funds needed to support that funeral. So I'm asking you today, moms, take a stand for what you believe in. Say no more, not on our watch. By becoming a member today at mobunited.org/join, you are committing to seeing this organization flourish, and it's our responsibility. We have to take a stand as moms. Continue to support this mission by donating, by becoming a member, and by also volunteering. We need your help. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. And I want to say thanks to all of you who have already joined the organization. And if you haven't, Beth posted it in chat how you join, mobunited.org/join. We have different membership levels in terms of your contribution, so we want to make it accessible to everyone. And if you're not a mom but you support our cause, there are other ways for you to support us by donating, which is also on our site, as well as buying merchandise and helping to spread the word about our message. So there is a way for everyone to be a part of this. Up next, I am very excited to introduce our guest speaker for this week, Officer NakiaJones. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about her background before she comes on, and really looking forward to this conversation. Many of you may know her from the video that she posted last summer following the death of Alton Sterling that went viral, a very impassioned video, very personal, and got a lot of attention and a lot of backlash, and she's still around speaking her mind. So NakiaJones was born in Cleveland, Ohio, and is the oldest of her siblings. In 1990, she graduated from Shaw High School and went on to attend Wilberforce University, where she chose criminal justice as her major, aspiring to be a prosecuting attorney. Just actually shout out to the class of 1990. I was also 1990. However, in 1996, she chose a different career, and in September of 1996, she was sworn in as a police officer for the city of East Cleveland. Ironically, this is the same city she lived in and graduated from high school in. She always wanted to be a productive member in her neighborhood. In 1999, Nakia then went on to Highland Hills Police Department. Then in 2002, she was sworn into the city of Warrensville Heights as the first African-American female officer. She is still presently holding that position and is also the senior response officer. Nakia not only works for the city of Warrensville Heights, but she also lives in the city. She volunteers for Career Day at all the schools in Warrensville Heights, and she has on many occasions sat with juveniles and their families off duty to help resolve situations. If you ask Officer Jones about a quote that describes her, she would say, "I am my sister and my brother's keeper." She believes that with a little compassion and unselfishness, we can all make a difference and we can change the world. So we welcome her, and we thank you, Officer Jones, for your commitment and all of your efforts to do just that, to change the world one step at a time. Welcome.
Officer Jones, if you could please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
All right, how are you ladies?
We're great. We're great. Thank
Good.
you.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, you're so welcome.
So we are going to kick off this interview portion of the call with you, and then our members will have an opportunity to share some questions with you. They can either share, ladies, you can either share questions through the chat online, or when it comes time for question and answer, you will have an opportunity to ask your question yourself. So with that, we will kick off this conversation. Nakia, would love to hear more about how you became such a leader in your own community and beyond. Give us a little bit about your background, please.
She said a whole lot about me. She was amazing. I think growing up, I grew up in the inner city, so it was a, kind of rough neighborhood. We did look out for one another, but you did see violence here and there. It was not as bad as it is now, but you did see that. You saw the bullying. You saw some children, their parents, they were latchkey children then, and they, would get into trouble. And I always was the one that wanted to help everybody. I was always the one, if you bullied on somebody, I was like, you don't do this. I always took up for people. And I always wanted to make a difference and make things better, even as a child, even as a young child. And as she said, I'm the oldest of all my siblings, so I took care of my siblings. I felt like I was mother hen. If my mom couldn't do it, I was there to do it. So I think that was something that was instilled in me. I know that my great-grandmother used to always tell me, I see greatness in you. And I'm like, I didn't understand it at the time, but she was preparing me to be a leader and to stand up for injustice. Like I said, even as a young child, I was always like that. So I believed in getting involved in different things. I was always involved in something to make situations better. I got on the mock trial team in high school. I was always a part of I would get into city council and different things like that. I always wanted to do better in my community. I felt like if I start with me and if I can make a positive change, others will start to do the same because a lot of people, gravitated around me.
Sorry, that is awesome. I know that you kind of took your inspiration that you received while being in the mock trial to kind of, take a look at being a part of, law enforcement or becoming an attorney. What was your driving force, though, to really serve your community?
Well, I knew that I would watch different things. At first, actually, in the beginning, I wanted to be a prosecutor. I wanted to get criminals off the street. I felt like if we get the criminals off the street, it makes the community better. I always wanted to be an advocate for women at the time because when I was growing up, I saw a lot of crimes towards women, like rapes and domestic violence. And back when I was younger, I remember watching my neighbor, her husband used to beat her. And the police would come over, but all they would do was tell him, go take a walk. And, I mean, he would beat her to the point where she couldn't walk. And I remember he was a vet, and he said that he would go through post-traumatic stress syndrome, and he would just, I've never seen, and I was young. I may have been like 13 or 14. So I kept saying, I want to be in a position where I can make things better. I'm like, I'm going to be an attorney because if I was an attorney, he would go to jail for that or he would pay for that. I've met many women that have been raped and date raped. And nothing came of it, and they wouldn't tell. And I kept saying, if I were a prosecutor, I would make sure that they would pay for their crimes. Unfortunately, I did go to school to become an attorney, but my grandmother got sick, so I had to leave school early after 2 years. And I still had that feeling inside, like I want to make a difference. I just didn't know how I was going to do it. And everybody knows once you stop going to school, it's hard to go back to college. So I decided to I said, well, what about law enforcement? I said, you know what, they have a large voice. I also can be a great role model, and I still can make a difference. So I decided to join the police academy, and thank God. It was funny because East Cleveland was hiring. And I'm like, this is the city I grew up in. Oh, my God, I can go back to the city. I can give back to my city that gave so much to me. That city did a lot for me. My mom was the advocate for domestic violence in East Cleveland and became the supervisor, and now she's retired from there. I went to high school there. That department, I mean, East Cleveland changed my life in many ways. So I decided to go back there where I could give back to my community and the community that I partially grew up in.
And while I know that this East Cleveland at the time didn't have, or even during that time period didn't have very many black female police officers that held high-ranking roles. But was there anyone in particular that may have inspired you to move your career forward?
Absolutely. I will say I didn't mention her before, but Kathy Stanton was a community-oriented policing officer. She was the first person that introduced me to community-oriented policing. And for those of you that don't know exactly what that is, it's an officer that actually goes out into the community, and we actually interact with the community, not on calls or not because you need us. We just go out and talk to the community. We do, like, we help with, you know how you have, what do you call it, like, when the streets have block parties, we assist in that. We come out, we shake hands, we meet the children, so the children will know us on a first name basis. They'll know our faces. You're really volunteering in the community. So she was the first person to introduce me to community-oriented policing, and I fell in love with it. But my mentor there was Sergeant Paula Robinson. Like, she was amazing. She's this little short little lady, and when I first met her, I'm like, she a police officer? She can handle herself. But to watch her, when she walked, she demanded respect, but she respected the community, and the community loved her. But she was no nonsense. And I'm like, I want to be like her. Like, she didn't have to be disrespectful to anybody. And like I said, she was a little bitty something. So I'm like, this little bitty woman is a sergeant, but she was so amazing. And you could tell she cared about her community, and she cared about the officers. And she would get you together, too. If you did something that was not right, she will pull you aside and let you have it. So I love Sergeant Robinson. And also Una Keenan. Judge Keenan was the judge in East Cleveland. And when I was on mock trial, I got to sit inside of her courtroom, and we did a mock trial in her courtroom. And I fell in love with her. Like, she was amazing. I'm like, look at this woman. She's so classy, and she's well-spoken, and she's, like, I absolutely love her. So, and then actually she's my godmother. She became my godmother. She, like, took me under her wing. So I must say that those two women are amazing.
Yeah, it's so important that we have strong female mentors to look up to and to help us, kind of guide the way, especially when we're looking at participating in careers that, aren't the norm or don't have a lot of us, female and black female representatives there. I know that's got to be, it's so important. I know that probably getting into the field itself was probably an interesting process. I've heard a lot of people say that, the training that it takes to become a police officer is kind of lax. I don't personally know myself, but I would love for you to share with us what that experience was like for you, and what that experience was like for you, and if you're the city that you're in right now, do they participate regularly in community policing?
Actually, because our department is, we're lacking in some manpower areas. Unfortunately, we do not have a community-oriented policing division. But I am trying to work hand-in-hand with my chief, and I do believe that once we get up to the manpower level that we need, we will eventually start that, and I will definitely be the forerunner for that. Like, I don't mind volunteering my time to do it. So unfortunately, we don't have that at this point. So I'm kind of a one-man band. I mean, that's why I still go into community. Like I said, I have parents that call me personally and say, hey, Officer Jones, can you come sit down with my children? Can you come sit down with me? If I see something going on, I'll get involved. I go to the schools, like I said, and speak, because that's what community-oriented policing is. It actually is a chance for moms and sons and daughters and the community to interact with the police, not in a environment where it's an environment where something's happening, where you're under pressure. A lot of times you don't interact with us unless something is going wrong or you need our help, and that's stress in itself. So you don't get to see us, and I like to see that we're human beings too. You don't get to see that we laugh. I run around and play with the kids. I talk to them. I get on them. So, and I think that that's extremely important for every city to have a community-oriented policing division, so that you all can get to know us and know that we're not these robots. Not only that, a lot of times moms are very good judge of character. So if you meet an officer and you're like, something's just not right, I'm not quite sure, I'm not saying be biased, but then maybe you'll say, okay, maybe I need to get to know this officer a little bit more. I want to know more. If I feel like something's not right with you, I want to know you more. Why did you become an officer? You can ask those questions. You have the right to ask those questions.
Right. Is community policing something that they teach in the police academy? what kind of things do they go over that affect your daily job?
In the academy, or you're saying community or? Oh,
no, in the academy, yeah. Do they teach you guys do they teach police officers about being community police officers? What kind of training do police officers go through?
Okay, they may touch on it in the academy. I believe they touched on it a little bit with us and explained to us what community-oriented policing was. I really didn't get a full grasp of what it was until I got to East Cleveland. Like I said, Kathy Stanton, and she passed away, so I just, I love her to life. But she actually that's the first place that I was introduced to what community-oriented policing really was. I believe they touched on it a little bit, but the academy, I guess different states have different ways they conduct their academy. For me, it actually, when you first go in, they tell you, what a police officer is and what is expected of a police officer. Then it goes through different laws, and then they tell you about domestic violence, and then they'll tell you, it hits on different things, and they'll tell you about, they'll show you movies, they'll teach you self-defense, they'll teach you, it's a variety of different things you have to learn that you go through. And actually, to be totally honest, I don't know how everybody else, I went to Cleveland Heights Police Academy, and it was amazing because as you're going through it, you really have to examine yourself. And if you're honest with yourself while you're going through that academy, you know if you're going to be a good police officer or not. So.
Yeah, and speaking of good police officers, we know that you are a great police officer, and we want to thank you so much, for your service in your community, and clearly that has stretched beyond. I know you've just celebrated 15 years as the first and only black female officer for Warrensville. That is amazing, and it's clear that it's a tough job, and we really just want to applaud you for your service. And I think what's interesting about you is the fact that you are, a mom, and you're a black mom, and so I'm wondering if being a mom, if it has any influence on how you police. Do you think that, you treat the citizens differently because you are a mom?
Yeah, definitely our children I do. I guess for me, I believe that all my children I deal with, even the ones that are kind of off the hook, those are still my children. Mm-hmm. And I think that all of us need to start thinking that way. A lot of times we'll be like, well, that ain't my child, I'm not getting involved. And it's sad because now it's even more prevalent. Back when we were younger, and some of you all that are close to my age, the street, everybody on the street knew who you were. They knew you by name. Hey, get over here. We listen. Oh, man, they're going to tell our mom, or they got involved. Now everybody is like turning a blind eye. I don't want to get involved. That's not my child. These are my children. When I talk to the children I deal with, any of them will tell you most of them call me mom. And I'm an officer. They're like, Mom. I'm like, for real, we about to act like this? I'll sit down and get on them. Y'all about to really show out like this? And I think that's why they have a certain respect for me. They are my kids. That's just how I feel. Those are my children. So.
Right. So I want to talk a little bit about what happened last summer and the effects of it on all of us. But before we do that, I'd love to share a little video with everyone from your interaction or your response to the Alton Sterling murder. Sorry.
My son came home from work today, and he showed me a disturbing video about a young man that was shot and killed by police in Louisiana. And I watched the video over and over and over and over and over again so that I wouldn't become judgmental. Because not only am I a mother of two African-American sons, and I have African-American nephews, and I have brothers, I'm also a person that wears the uniform with the blue. So I'm looking at it, and I became so furious and so hurt because it bothers me when I hear people say, y'all police officers this, y'all police officers that. So I'm looking at it, and it tore me up because I got to see what you all see. If I wasn't a police officer and I wasn't on the inside, I would be saying, look at this racist stuff. Look at this. If you are white and you work in a black community and you are racist, you need to be ashamed of yourself. If you're afraid to go and talk to an African-American female or male or a Mexican male or female because they're not white like you, take the uniform off. You have no business being a police officer. If you are that officer that's private, take the uniform off and put the KKK hoodie on.
Wow, that just hearing that today, it still gives me chills. And I remember when I saw it, I just was taken aback by what had happened, and how you approached it. You really took a chance when you spoke up. What was it that prompted you to make that video?
Well, my oldest son, he came home, and again, my son he was captain of the band, top 10 of his class, never any issues with him. Me and my son talk. We're very, 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 very close. Like, that's my twin. And he came home and woke me up out of my sleep. First of all, everybody knows I work night shift. The kids know not to wake me up unless it's an emergency. So for him to even wake me up out of my sleep, it caused me to pause. And he's like, Ma, did you see the shooting? And I'm thinking all this time that somebody got shot in Warrensville. Or I'm thinking, okay, or one of his friends, what happened? So I'm like, what is going on? He's like, no, the police officer killed this man. And if you could, you know when you look in your children's eyes and you see fear, I've never seen that from my son. So now I'm sitting up, I sit up except one time, but I'm sit up out of my bed, I'm looking at him like, I said, well, what police officer? So now I'm thinking that one of our officers from our city shoot somebody. He's like, no, Ma, you got to see this video. So I immediately got up, and now you're delirious when you wake up. So I'm delirious, and I started watching it. So the first time I watched it, I was a little delirious. I rewatched it, and I'm like, all right, so of course, no disrespect to anybody, I put on my police officer hat because they say you're a police officer 24 hours a day. So I started looking at the video, and I'm like, okay, what did he do wrong? Okay, what made these officers act? What happened? So now I'm looking at it from a law enforcement standpoint because we get such bad stigma, and I understand. So then I'm watching it, and then all of a sudden it was like God took the uniform off of me. And I was able to stand to look at him from a mother's standpoint. What this was my son. So now I'm analyzing it from a mother's standpoint. And I became so hurt. I was so hurt. Like, you guys didn't get to see. In the beginning, I was just crying. And then I was able to analyze from both a police officer and a mother's standpoint. And I was sick. It was embarrassment to the uniform to me. I was embarrassed to be an officer because, again, if I'm saying I'm part of this organization, what their behavior reflects me also. And then I'm a mother, so now I'm hurt, and I have African-American brothers. This can happen to my child, and he was actually supposed to go to school in Louisiana. And I'm thinking to myself, my son is not going down there. I mean, it hurt me so, it felt like somebody ripped my spirit. Just did not feel right. I was so hurt. I could not. I was almost without words, and I started not to say anything. I started to keep it to myself because I have debated with my friends on Facebook, and I have a private Facebook page, back and forth about different instances. But something in me, it was like, I had to say something. It felt like I was so full, and then seeing my son like that, and now I start thinking about somebody got to speak up for them.
Yeah. It's funny because when we spoke earlier this week about your interview, we didn't really talk about what prompted your response. But my son had a very similar visceral response that led to him having symptoms of PTSD. So, excuse me, I know exactly what you mean, because it does rip your heart out to see your child react like that. I know the backlash must have been incredible because here you are a member, of the team, and I've always heard that there is this line, this blue line. Did you face any backlash from sharing that video?
Oh, absolutely. Of course, you had people that were silently for me, and I guess it kind of hurt my feelings. There were a lot of men saying, Officer Jones, we agree with you, we got your back, but nobody stepped up. And I felt like I was on an island alone. Then I had officers telling me I should be ashamed of myself, I shouldn't be an officer. Some officers told me I need to get back on welfare, and just real disrespectful remarks. I had some wives call me of police officers like, my husband's a police officer, you effing bitch. Oh, I got anything you caused the officers in Dallas to get shot. And I'm thinking to myself, you don't think that didn't hurt me to see those officers in Dallas get hurt or get shot? That's family too. So you think that I would try to incite something like that? Like, it was really, like, when I tell you, I was so broken. Part of me wanted to quit, and just walk away. Then part of me was not in fear, but I was concerned about my children's safety. And then, when wives were calling me, like, my husband's a cop, my husband's a police officer too. So you don't think that I feel the same way you do? So it was really, really rough. But the community, and I just want to say this to you mothers that supported me, you all's prayers carried me through. You have no idea. Just y'all reaching out and sending me. You have no idea what times I wanted to give up. And you all, I just want to thank you. I got calls from Africa, from Europe, all over the world, just being supportive. And I just want to say I love you all. And I'm sorry, I'm getting a little emotional, but that meant so much to me. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's you voiced everything that we were feeling, even though we're not officers ourselves. We're officers in our home. We hold down the law in our home. So what you shared is just we saw that you were just like us, and that I think was something that we really needed to see. Thank you so much for sharing that. At that time when last summer when everything was going on, I think we saw a lot of moms sharing, pictures of their sons as they were sending them off to school. A lot of them were very fearful of, what was happening as they were sending their sons off to school. I know you just sent your son off to school recently. Tell us more about your son and, how you prepared him to go off to school.
I'm sorry, excuse me for a second, Vanessa and Nakia. Can you guys all please mute yourselves? There's a lot of background noise.
Okay, I think I heard everything you were saying. I'm assuming you said you had somewhere to go. It was kind of muffled. Actually, I think I told you this before, we just dropped my son off to college, and that was really rough, you guys. So I missed him. This is probably Friday was a week. So I've been away from my baby, but I prepared him by, first of all, I always tell him to be aware of his surroundings, be aware of the company you keep, because a lot of times our sons or our children may not even be the issue. It could just be that they're in the wrong place at the wrong time. So first of all, I always make it start with him before I go off and tell him how to deal with law enforcement. I always make sure that he's in the right space and that he's doing what he's supposed to do. So I always tell him, you be mindful of the things you do. You be mindful of the people you hang around. You be mindful of your surroundings. If you are approached by a law enforcement officer, you always stay respectful. I don't care if that law enforcement officer is extremely disrespectful. You know the keys. You know the badge number, or if you know what city you're in. You don't even have to or a description of the officer. You just remain respectful. Starting a fight with a police officer on a street, even if he's wrong, you're going to lose because it's going to look like you're all the way wrong. So you just remain respectful. You always keep your hands where they can see it, because if I can see your hands, you're not a threat to me. So when you're stopped by a law enforcement officer, I even tell my son, if you're about to be pulled over, make sure your driver's license, your proof of insurance is at hand. You know where those things are at, your registration. That's a tip that moms can give their sons. You're driving, you always know that where your driver's license, your proof of insurance, and your registration is. So you don't have to ramble and be looking. You know where all those things are. I'm to the point where now I told my son he can stick it right there where you can get it right in hand. Where you put your driver's license, you may take it out your pocket, your proof of insurance, all that is right there. So you can actually hand it to the officer. Good morning, talk to the officer, how are you? You know why I stopped you? Answer him yes or no. Hand them that information. Keep your hands at all times. Don't get fidgety. I want it to be where our sons are not so afraid, because a lot of officers get, I think, uncomfortable when they see somebody nervous. Because unfortunately, people that are doing the wrong thing, they're real nervous. But our sons are nervous because of the things that are going on with law enforcement. So take a deep breath, keep your hands on the steering wheel, stay respectful. Even like I say, even if you think the officer is wrong for pulling you over, and even if you think he's profiling, you can handle that later on. We just want you to get home safely. And so I tell him that. Keep your hands where they can see him. Speak loud, speak accurate. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Get home safely. Now, if there's an issue, we'll deal with that after the fact. So that's what I kind of instilled in him.
Yep, it is the conversation I think most of us are having. Recently we saw, I think Procter & Gamble had put out a commercial called The Talk that a lot of moms in the group have been sharing. But it's funny because as wonderful as those messages are, then we get opposite messages from those that are supposed to be leading our country, sharing things like it's okay to rough us up a little bit. That kind of narrative, it to us really spreads, the sentiment that it's okay for some officers who are not as inclined as you are, to go above and beyond what is required by the law when encountering a citizen. What was your response to that statement that was made, and share with us how would you say, police within your own police department?
I did actually I get messages all the time. So I actually didn't see his comment at first, and someone messaged me. So I'm very cognitive of, like, when people follow me, and I see different messages. There are certain things that catch me, and I'll look at it. Once I saw it, I was so ashamed of his behavior, because you're supposed to be our leader. And they say that the body is not better, it's shaky if the head is shaky. So you're actually spewing hate, saying it's okay to remove your hand, let them bump their head, stop being so rough with these criminals. First of all, that is not my job. My job is to serve and protect. And even when I'm dealing with criminals, or I have to arrest somebody, I still have to give you a certain amount of respect. I put you in cuffs, I put you in the back of my vehicle, and I take you to jail. Now, we do have people that are disrespectful and off the hook, and you handle it appropriately, but there's such a thing as going overboard. And that's why your colleagues are supposed to come in line. That's the reason why I'm saying, I'm looking at him, first of all, and saying, no disrespect, but, President, you're not a police officer. You're not out here with us, and you're spewing this kind of venom out here, and that's the reason why people hate us. And that's the reason why people are targeting the police, because they feel as if, they're targeting us, and now the president is saying it's okay. That causes more of a divide. And my thing is, if you're standing there and you're saying, I'm trying to bridge the gap between the community, no, you're not saying stuff like that. And you ought to be ashamed of yourself. And I think I put it on my Facebook page. I do not agree with him. I serve with integrity and respect, even if I'm dealing with a criminal. And not being funny, I'm a human being, so I'm funny about rape, men that molest children, or men that beat their wives and are senseless. So if I know that I'm in my feelings or I'm angered, I'll ask one of the officers, and we're that close, I can tell one officer, I need for you to deal with this. because I'm in my feelings right now, and I don't want to, go off on this person. I need for you to deal with this. And they usually will step up. Usually, that's why I say, even officers, we got to be our brothers and sisters keepers. If you see an officer that's out of line, it's time for other officers to step up and say, hey, look, you out of line. We need to start policing each other also. And I think that it will make a difference instead of turning a blind eye saying, okay, it's all right. No, it's not all right. So I think that even in my department, if I see an officer do something that's out of line, I'll say something. I've had officers tell me, or I've had people say, jump in my face, and they can see I'm getting aggravated with them. They'll say, Nikki, I got it. Mm-hmm. But that's how it's supposed to be. We're supposed to be like that. The same thing in our community. When I see males, like I tell males, all right, I get it, you guys are in, y'all got your little gangs, y'all acting up, but when you see one of your friends getting out of line, step up and say something. Come on, dude, you out of line. That's the same thing we need to do. We need to take that same approach. But I did not agree with what he said whatsoever.
Right. Your sentiment about, stepping up to the front line and even, working with correcting or pulling the collar of your coworkers or your fellow police officers when they step out of line is I can tell something that is important to you, because I know that you say that your motto is you are your brothers and your sisters keeper, and I'm sure that extends within your fraternal order as well as within your community. So we appreciate you really living by that. And we, as Moms of Black Boys United, or Moms United for Social Change, we want to step up in our communities too, and we want to kind of bridge that gap between the community and police relations by, kind of connecting with our local police precincts that may not necessarily have a community policing outfit, or even if they do, trying to find ways to, just connect better with them. Do you have any suggestions on how we can, as moms, do a good job of connecting with our local police precinct and working with them to ensure that our communities are safe, not just from criminals, but, from those who would use excessive force?
What I would say is, if they do have a community, or if in your city, find out first and see if you guys have a community-oriented policing division. If you do, go and meet the community-oriented policing officers. Ask them, can we be of help? A lot of times they have meetings. Go to those meetings, voice your concerns, and listen to the officers' concerns. And then you guys will end up being a pillar. Like, it'll be the community-oriented police officers and the moms. And you'll all be looking out for one another. So I think that will be amazing. If you don't, what I would do is go to your local law enforcement police departments and say, hey, ask to sit down with the chief and say, you know what, we want to get to know our officers. Is there any way that you can set up a meeting or meet the police night where you can meet the officers so they can see, I live in this community, I have children in this community, those kind of things, so that they'll see that you're involved. Go to your city council meetings. You want to get really involved, because a lot of times if an officer sees that you're really involved, they are more likely to do something wrong, because they know, oh my God, this mother is not playing. They're involved in their children's life. They're involved in the community. They're watching us. You know what I'm saying? Then for the good officers, it makes us feel good, because we know that you have our back. So if I deal with your child and your child is out of line and you know me on a first name basis, Officer Jones, and I come home and say, hey, let's come to your house and say, hey, Miss Johnson, I picked your son up or your daughter, and this is what was happening. You'll say, well, you know what? I know that officer. So I'm going to get in your behind. What are you doing? It makes us feel good. Or if you call me and say, Officer Jones, my son is having a problem. He's being bullied on. Or Officer Jones, my son is having a problem with such and such officer. Can you tell me about this officer? And I can sit down and say, you know what? Blah, 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 or I can be a mediator between the two. So I would tell you, definitely get involved with your law, get to know them. Ask them their name. Ask them why you become an officer, but go and try and see if you can do a meet the police night. Because our department does that, and I think it's amazing. And then you get to ask officers, why did you become an officer? Where are you from? Do you have children? Do you know what I mean? So you kind of you're engaging with us.
Yep. Yeah, definitely some great advice there. And I think we've got a few moms that are hoping to get some questions to you. So we are going to open up the line for some questions. Ladies, please press *6 before you begin speaking. And please remember to press *6 to mute yourself when you have finished. Okay, we'll start taking questions now. First question, please.
I have a question.
Hi, please share your name and where you're calling from.
Yes, this is Mohana Bay calling from Cleveland. And I just wanted to say that I have a comment, then a question. You know, I've been following Officer NakiaJones forever. She's always been inspiring. I just wanted to know where would she be speaking next where I can see her? And if she have maybe a couple engagements, so if I can't make it to that one, I'll be able to come and see her speak live because I really think she does a really good job. You know, she was amazing today.
Wow. Thank you. And again, I'm humbled for the compliments. I will be speaking in New York. All of this is on my, I don't want to take up a lot of time, but all of this is on my Instagram page. I'm Officer NakiaJones, so if you follow me on there. And I also speak on topics. That's what I meant to tell you, too, Vanessa. I speak on topics, so if you guys have something you want to ask, you can actually go on my Instagram page and say, hey, Officer Jones, what do you think about this? Or we have a question, how should we react to that? And I usually go live so that everybody can see it. But I'll be speaking in New York. If you go to my page, you'll see that. I'm also, I think everybody knows I'm writing a book called The Truth Divided, and I think every mom should get this book. It's going to be a lot of information, things that I couldn't share on the phone with you guys, on the radio now with you guys. It's going to be a lot of information that tells about feeling divided, being an officer and being a mom.
Is that going to be on Amazon or where?
Yes, it will be available on Amazon. And then, like I said, if you follow me on my Officer NakiaJones page, a lot of information will come out about the book and different speaking engagements.
All right. Thank you. I love you.
I love you too.
Good morning. My name is Vanessa, and I'm calling from Fayetteville, North Carolina. First, I want to tell you when your video first came out, when you spoke about what you had saw, I immediately started to have, I immediately started to admire you because there's not too many people who would speak out against, their brethren, so to speak. In my family, law enforcement is completely throughout. My brother is a sheriff deputy here in Fayetteville. I have cousins that's captains, that's sergeants in Robeson County. And I was blessed to finally hear my oldest son, who just graduated from high school, to tell me what he wanted to do because he was staring away from the SATs. And I'm like, why? And so finally he told me, he said, Mom, I want to be a police officer. And I was like, what? Because I always thought he was going to be, an engineer. I just knew he was going to go straight, into college. But he finally told me in May, and graduation was June, what he wanted to do. And the most blessing part is our community college here in Fayetteville, they now have a 2-year degree before you go into the BLET. And it's very good because you can't become a police officer until you're 20 here. And he's 18, so that's a good 2 years that he gets the chance to take crisis intervention classes, sociology classes, economic classes, to learn about the neighborhoods he would be going into. And I couldn't be more happier because my brother just took the basic, law enforcement training. Now at Fayetteville Tech, they have an actual degree that you have to get before becoming a police officer. And when I found that out, I said, okay, that couldn't be, more perfect. So that's what he's actually going into. So by the time he turns 20, he'll be ready for his core classes of actually, becoming a police officer. And when I tell other people that, they're like, okay, why would your son, who is a young black man, want to become a cop in this day and age? Well, my sister is a sociologist. I'm in school to become a social worker. So my son knows what's going on the outside of our home. He sees the videos. He watches TV. He's on social media. And that's the reason why he wants to do it, because there is a fear. Our black men do have to walk around on a different set of rules. And it's bad enough of sitting down and having a sex talk with our kids, but now with our black boys, we have to have a different type of talk. And it makes you have to really think, you know, what's going on, how they need to do. Because I don't know if anybody knows, but I bought my son a lanyard when he first started driving. And the lanyard has, you know, the ID clear case. And that's where he has his ID. But he never has to stick his hands anywhere if he ever, you know, is stopped when he's driving. And I said, you keep your hands on the wheel and just tell the officer, my ID is on my chest. You can retrieve it from around my neck. And he was like, Mom, why do I have to go through all that? And I said, because unfortunately to some people, you might not be doing anything, but you just might be a threat. And I know you. When you get into a nervous situation, you're going to start shaking. You might start crying, and that's not going to make the officer comfortable. So that's why I want you to do it like that. So, again, I just admire you. I have been following you, and I was upset when I saw some of the backlash that you were getting, but I'm so happy that you were able to stay strong, that you're still in it, and you're able to help a lot of us moms recover from a lot of stuff, because I had to recover from that when I first watched it. After that particular video, I stopped watching any other ones, because that's how hurt I was. Because I feel like I can't get desensitized, not with the fact that I have 3 black men that I'm trying to raise. 3. So every day they leave the house, I'm in fear. So once your video came out, it made the fear a little bit lessened, because I know that there are some sensitivity on the other side. And I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And tell your son I said, that is amazing. I'm so, so proud of him, just as you are.
Thank you.
Good morning, Nakia. My name is Kimberly, and I'm in Houston, Texas. I wanted to ask, how do you think we should, in individual communities, identify individuals who have developmental disabilities and or mental illness who may not respond to police officers the way that they think they should be responded to, or may not even understand what it is that's being asked of them?
Unfortunately, me and my husband were just talking about this. We don't have a lot of training in dealing with people with mental disabilities, and it's so hard for us. Some departments do have officers that they send to training. I think every department should have one. And my husband was saying on his department, they have officers that are equipped and that have been to school to deal with people with, mental disabilities or different things. And they'll call them out on the scene to help de-escalate a problem. But like for me, I was never trained to deal with people with mental disabilities or different things, or, people that are, mentally or physically challenged. So it kind of just goes back to the person. I just have a certain humility towards people. So it kind of has worked for me, but I have dealt with people with mental disabilities, and it's uncomfortable for the officers as well as it's probably uncomfortable for the person's family, because you know what's going on with your family member, and we may not know. We don't understand. So I really think that as moms or as people in the community, we need to start going to the departments and saying, hey, you guys, can you get some of your officers trained on how to deal with people with mental disabilities or certain handicaps or certain things like that.
Good morning, Officer Jones. My name is Patty, and I'm calling from Kennesaw, Georgia. My question is in relation to the black boys in our school system. So, excuse me, my daughter teaches 10th grade geometry in a Title I school in Memphis, Tennessee. And, you know, I kind of talk to her daily in regards to, you know, what's going on in her classroom. And so she talks about a number of rival gangs, and she has to deal with that. And then recently she was saying one of her students just got up and started to walk out of the classroom because he said he wanted to go use the bathroom, and ended up pushing her out into the hall in order to get past her in order to go to the bathroom. You know, it kind of concerns me because what I see is that, you know, a lot of these black boys, because they don't have, I don't know, the guidance or structure in their lives, end up bringing it into the school, which is, first of all, number one, a good thing that they're coming to school. But then, number two, they're bringing some of the drama and problems that they have. What can happen to get the police officers more involved with, you know, some of our black boys in the school system so that they don't go down the wrong path and that they do get to a point that they're able to graduate?
I think that we need to get more, especially male police officers, to start volunteering in school, start doing career days, start doing, like, maybe the principal will set up, as I know what they're going to do that this year with me, they'll set up a big form in the auditorium, and we'll go by class, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, and the officers able to sit down and talk to, address certain things with these young men, or if there are problems, maybe you want to kind of get, maybe you know how the school knows the children that we continuously having issues with. Maybe you'll get them in a group so that they don't disrupt the other people that may want to hear what I have to say. And then you sit down and you have those officers keep it 100% with them. A lot of times we sugarcoat. A lot of times you have officers, unfortunately, that feel like this is not my community, so it's not going to affect me. Get some officers that really care. And I'm one of those people that's going to keep it 100 with you. Listen, if you keep on doing such and such, you're going to end up in jail. Let me tell you what happens to you when you go to jail. You want to be part of the system? What about your parents? Oh, I get all the way in debt with them. I'm one of those get real raw with you. And I've noticed that it does make a change. Some of them be like, okay, they go a total opposite direction, but then you do have some that don't change. They just feel like, I think the most hurting thing for me is when I heard a young man tell me, I just don't give a F. I said, what are you talking about? I ain't got nothing to live for. I don't care. I'm just out here. I don't care about nothing. And it hurt me so bad. Like, that's the most hurting feeling in the world. And I'm trying to reach this young man, you know, trying to appeal to him and talk to him and say, what do you mean? You better than this. Da, 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 da. And I don't care. I'll kill anybody. I don't care, Officer Jones. I don't care about myself. And it hurt me. So I get it. But we still got to keep on reaching out to them. So you have to get officers to be more involved in the schools. Maybe, like I said, career day, get the teachers to start sending invitations to some good officers. I mean, you know good officers when you see them. Hey, would you mind coming talking to my class?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
This is Chris Baldwin calling from Carolina Beach, North Carolina. Thank you again, Officer Jones, for lifting your voice and being a mom that stood up, that wears the blue. My question to you is, as an organization, Mom United for Social Change, how can we influence other officers that wear the blue, that are black men or black women, to stand up, specifically other black moms like yourself that wear the blue? How can we encourage them to stand up? Because it was great to see you stand up. I think it would have been an amazing visual to see other moms that wear the blue just like you to stand with you. I know the Philadelphia black officers have been very vocal to stand up against these injustices, but how can we get other moms that wear the blue like yourself to stand up so that we can influence change? Do you have any suggestions for our organization?
I would just say be supportive to the officers that are standing up and that are speaking out and that are trying to make a positive change and that are calling their fellow officers out, just stay real supportive, because it makes other officers feel more comfortable coming out. But I will say this, and this is actually in my book, just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. Some officers, you may not see them coming out saying things, but some officers have become officers just to make sure that our sons are safe and to make sure that they're on the inside and they're able to see things that are going on the inside. I've seen officers get on another officer or tell another officer, you're not about to do that. Because just because you don't see it, don't think that it's not happening. And it doesn't have to necessarily be a black officer. I've seen white officers stand up to other white officers. I've seen white officers check a black officer. So some officers, they're behind the scene, but they are standing up for us. Trust me. You know I'm going to always keep it 100%. They may be that silent voice that you don't see them, but they are making an impact.
Thank you so much, Officer Jones. We have time for a couple more questions.
I have a question.
Thank you.
Oh, hi, this is Sonia. I'm calling from Los Angeles, California. I often have wondered when all of these situations happen, and we're even, sitting here speaking about how officers need to actually police each other, support each other. What is the dialogue like inside the precinct? What is the typical protocol, like, say, from a captain to the staff? I guess when I think about when we used to watch Hill Street Blues, they always opened with that meeting. And you had the captain there giving the directions for the day, giving some words of, guidance and encouragement. Does that still exist anywhere in the, in the precinct? What is that daily routine like? And is there someone that is putting something into the officers' heads before they, are, released to do their shift?
It's probably, in some departments, I'm pretty sure they do still, and I think you're talking about roll call, when the officers are sitting there and they begin their day. A lot of departments still have roll call, but unfortunately, because the crime rate is so high now, a lot of times when we get to work, we don't even have time to have roll call. Our sergeant will start the roll call, and we got to get on the road. We'll have calls holding, so we got to go right then and there. So it's kind of hard, and sometimes you'll have a sergeant, like my sergeant does it. He'll call us back. He'll tell us what's going on for the day, blah, 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 and he'll tell us to be safe or whatever. But I know exactly what you're talking about, that dialogue, that positivity that they put in, what you guys be safe, treat the community with respect, blah, 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 da, da, da. It doesn't happen a lot because it's so busy in many departments. They're so busy that, like I said, you walk in the door, you have 2 or 3 calls holding. So you got to get that next shift out on the road.
Understood.
Good morning. I have a question. This is Linnell calling from Maryland. I have 2 questions. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
One is, what constitutes an illegal turn, illegal lane shift? If I remember correctly, Sandra Bland was stopped because of that, and there have been other traffic stops, and those have been the reasons for the stop, which turns tragic. And the other is, what can we do in the community? I have a friend of mine whose daughter is African American. She was dog sitting in an all-white neighborhood. She actually went around to the neighbors to let them know that she was there so they wouldn't call the police to say she was breaking in their home. So what are some practical things we can do when we are outside of our neighborhoods to keep us safe? And can you verify what is that with the traffic stops? Thank you.
Okay. The first question you said, what is an illegal lane change?
Yes, it seems to be arbitrary in the way that they're done. And like I said, if I remember, Sandra Bland was initially stopped because she did an illegal lane change or an illegal turn. What is that?
Okay. It could be, I can stop you if you don't signal before you change your lane. That's why I said I really want to work with MOB so that you guys, a lot of times we hear about laws or people that will tell us this is the law, and they really don't know what they're talking about. And then we believe it, and then we get so offensive. A police officer almost can stop you for anything, just like people are like, why are you running my plates? Well, in the state of Ohio, we can run plates. We can just do a random check. And if you're driving in suspension, that's probable cause for me to stop you. So you can't say, well, she's profiling me. No, in the state of Ohio, I can do that. We can run and make sure that you have proper registration on your car and that you are a licensed driver. So people don't know that. So that's why I really want to make sure I stay involved for you guys. So get, the information. Now, a legal turn, it may be she turned and it says no turn on red. I'm not sure exactly what's going on, so that can be an illegal turn. It can say no turn during these hours. So it would depend on exactly what was going on. But if she didn't signal, even if she didn't put her blinkers on, an officer can pull her over for that. It's something that minor. Yeah.
Wow.
And then the other question was, I'm sorry, sweetie, what was the other one?
That's okay. If we're going to be in communities other than our own, for example, my friend of mine's daughter, who is African American, was dog sitting for a professor of hers who is white. So the professor took her around to the neighbors so that they knew she was there and would not call the police because this black person is in their neighborhood and don't think they belong there. What things can we do when we know we're going to be in situations like that, or we move into a new area? Should we contact the police and let them know we live there? I mean, what are things that we can do proactively to protect ourselves so that we can mitigate that situation?
Yeah, I was going to say that sounds like a neighborhood situation. First of all, if it was me, I'm not taking a child around to tell my neighbors that are white or think that black shouldn't be in my community. I probably won't even want to live in a community like that. We should be able to go anywhere we want to go. As long as I'm not breaking the law, period, I should be able to go where I want to go. And I'm kind of offended that he would even have to take that child around to his neighbors to say she's going to be in the neighborhood. And she's not breaking the law, so she's breaking the law because she's black. So you're telling me that I have a serious issue with that. I think that if you're moving into a neighborhood, you shouldn't have to go tell the police, hey, I moved into this neighborhood, I'm black or I'm white or I've even seen officers pull over a white person for being in a black neighborhood. I know that sounds crazy, but I've seen it. What are they doing over here? They can't drive through what is happening here? I think that some of our mentalities are really messed up, and that just upset me totally. There's nothing that you can do. Period. If they're that type of neighborhood that's gonna profile you, no matter what, even though he took her around to all those neighbors, I guarantee you, if one of those neighbors wanted to be an idiot, they could have still called the police and said, there's some girl over here and she's not supposed to be here. If she's not breaking the law, you don't see her breaking in somebody's house, then why is she not able to be there? You don't think that African Americans have high status? A lot of us hold very good jobs. We can live in those same neighborhoods. Oh, I'm sorry. Ooh.
Oh no, it upset me as well. But unfortunately, this is what we are living with now. And so to protect her so that she wouldn't get into a situation where, they had to call the owner or something. So they did this as a way of helping to keep that from her going through that. So I get it. I'm frustrated by it too, but this is where we are.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mhm.
And on that note, thank you so much for those questions. We are out of time. We want to be respectful and end on time. But Officer Jones, I just want to give you a very hearty thank you for joining the call. This has been a very, very, very informative and insightful conversation. And most of all, we just thank you for being a mom on the front lines, for accepting the call, taking on the daily challenge of being an officer. We need more people like you in blue, and would love to figure out ways that we can partner more with you and with law enforcement as a whole to try to solve the issues that we're seeing with our sons. But just thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for all that you do on behalf of Mob United.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you, ladies, for having me.
Yes, and now we just want to close out with a closing prayer by Nashiva Star. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Officer Jones. Thank you, everyone. So our prayer, like our quote this morning earlier, follows us just through understanding the power of courage. So a prayer for courage. Lord, I'm afraid I don't feel bold or courageous today. Help me remember that bravery isn't the absence of fear. It's doing the right thing no matter what. Give me a courageous heart. I know that you will be with me. I am not alone. You are greater than any enemy or obstacle I face. Help me to take a stand, to not give up, to push on, and to step forward today, knowing that you are trustworthy and you are my strength. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, ladies. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. We'll be back in 2 weeks.
Oh, no. No.